Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Go for a Walk. Today, we are going to be discussing why it is so important to set expectations for your new puppy from day one. If I'm going to be completely honest, when I get puppy clients, it is oftentimes because the puppies are exhibiting behaviors that are preventable. Now, these are behaviors like my dog or my puppy is constantly bothering my other dog, or my puppy is, trying to steal food off the counter, or my puppy is taking socks or Kleenexes or any number of things. The puppy is unhinged. Well, a lot of these behaviors are very typical puppy behaviors, and they are all preventable. So, one of the biggest mistakes that people make with their new puppy is giving them the same amount of freedom as their adult dog has. Now, it can be easy, you go through the puppy stage with your adult dog and get your puppy home, and it is a lot of effort and forethought to decide how are we going to sequester this puppy in such a way where they're still getting their needs met, but they're not kind of having the whole run of the house. And this is what I'm going to get into today. So, when you get your new puppy home, the first thing that you should do is figure out what sort of boundaries you are laying down. You don't want them to be able to chew up your couch? Don't let them. Now, obviously, none of us have the time to be following our puppy around constantly. Like, are they going in by the couch now? Like, are they in the living room? Where's the puppy? Where's the puppy? Where's the puppy? Right? So you don't have to do that. Your puppy does not need to have free reign of the house. And I'm not saying crate your puppy 23 hours out of the day. You don't have to do that either. I do recommend getting a crate because the reality is puppies are like little human children. When they are new and things are exciting and they are in a new environment, they don't want to sleep. And even though they need a lot of sleep to help them grow and to keep them in a good mood, if there's a lot going on in their environment and they have, it's all up to their own devices, they will oftentimes not sleep on their own. So, first rule is get a crate. Because when you start deciding on which expectations you are kind of laying down for your puppy, you want to have a way to separate them if you need to. And you also want to have a place that they can go to nap and to learn how to settle. The second thing is get exercise pens, like dog exercise pens. They're not very expensive. You can get them almost anywhere. Baby gates are good too, but your puppy does not have to have free reign of the house. So these are just some tools that you can put in place so that when you start deciding on these expectations and boundaries, you have somewhere to put your puppy so you don't need to be following them around, babysitting them constantly. Another thing that I always recommend is get a light, 4-foot leash that you can put on your puppy when they are in your house. A lot of people call it a drag lead. Why? Because it just kind of drags on the ground under your puppy. You can use this to practice things like place and stationing while you're eating dinner, right? Or if you're making dinner, you can kind of tether your puppy, put them, on their leash, have a little bed, have them laying on there, maybe doing an activity like playing with a Kong or something. So get these things in place. They will make your life way, way, way easier. Now, the next thing that I'm going to get in about this is actually setting your expectations. So you don't need to have your expectations set before you bring the puppy home. Now, it's awesome if you can do that, but it's not necessary. You will very quickly discover what your own puppy, their habits and quirks. You will very quickly discover what kind of thing your puppy is going to be doing in your house when you get them home. And this is obviously going to change with time. However, put them on their drag lead and just watch them for like the first day. Obviously, you'll still want to make sure they get plenty of naps, but you'll see, does this puppy like to chew on any certain areas in the house, or, chew on the carpeting? Or are they already going to the bathroom every, 30 seconds, under the table, in the dining room, on the carpeting? You'll start to learn. And those will kind of give you an idea of what you want to watch out for. Now, after you've kind of seen this, right, how do they interact with the other pets in your house? Then you have to decide, what do I want to do to stop these things from happening? Now, the worst thing that you can do is let your puppy have free rein and then resort to a screaming fit as soon as they do something wrong, right? The puppy has sock, right? They're running away from you because they have already learned that if they get a sock, you will chase them and try to pry it out of their mouth. Come on. Now, the sock example is, just want to caveat this by saying the sock example, somebody chasing after the puppy and then pulling the sock out of their mouth, it's a really good reason why resource guarding starts to happen. So try not to do that unless your dog has something very, toxic or dangerous or something that they can eat. That would become an obstruction. Otherwise, just accept it as kind of a fault of, it didn't get picked up off the ground, or the puppy was not being watched closely enough, and move on. You can also use it as an opportunity to teach a drop it if you have high enough value reinforcer. Key is not to make a big deal out of it. Anyways, so getting back to, you start setting your expectations, right? You do not want the puppy to constantly be pestering your adult dog or your cat. Maybe you don't want the puppy to be peeing under the dining room table. Maybe you don't want the puppy to be grabbing socks and running away with them. Now, after you've set these expectations, you want to make sure that your puppy cannot do these things. So if your puppy's having a problem messing with your older dog or your cat, put them on a drag leash or put them behind an exercise pen. And if they get frustrated because they can't move freely, it's okay, right? You can use this opportunity for training and starting to cultivate those expectations that you are going to have for them for the rest of their life. Eventually, they will calm down and they will start learning there's really no point because I can't do these things anyways. Now, it is important to control their movement and make sure that you're setting them up for success within their environment. But it is also important to start teaching them what you want them to do instead. This is where training comes in. So obedience training is really important for probably most pet dogs, right? Not a ton of obedience training. They don't need a massive amount. But what they do need is enough for you to communicate what your expectations are. So like I said, practicing stationing on a mat in the kitchen is really useful. Practicing a downstay on a bed while your other dog is chewing on a bone across the room is really useful. And take it slow when you start practicing these things. But you can just kind of shape your puppy this way. And through a lot of consistency and through maturity as they age, these things will start to become a habit and they will persist throughout their life. So that is all I'm going to say today about this. If you enjoyed what you were hearing today or you found it useful, please like and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. If you are a puppy owner, what kinds of things have helped you? Thank you so much. Have a great day.